You're looking at my Kindle Fire, the latest page where we left off in Reading-Molasses Moon. And here we are again in my kitchen. And I'll continue where we left off in the epilogue on the last video. I think I'll repeat the previous paragraph and then continue. Had just a couple pieces of the delicious roast beef I cooked yesterday for Sunday dinner. Today is May 23rd. I'm also going to soon be busy writing Sliding Down Moonbeams and laughing myself into oblivion. Well, not really, I'm already there. I'll see if I can laugh myself into fame and fortune instead. Asterisk. On June 11th, Lonnie paid me a surprise visit and spent a couple hours feeding my spirit, discussing the strong points of Molasses Moon through Chapter 20. Lonnie has paid me the best compliments possible for a piece of writing, at least from my perspective now. Remember, the book reading in the book time was 1994. You already know, he said, Molasses woke him up thinking about the book. On the 11th, he told me that the book was so smoothly written, so easily accessible, he would forget he was reading. He said the flow went through the natural order of things, as they should be, and was absolutely consistent throughout the book, at least up to Chapter 20. But here's the best part. Before discussing the reasons Lonnie believes Molasses Moon is a good book, he established his reasons for believing he is a good judge of a good book. He explained that he reads a lot and reads many different types of books and novels, as well as having written extensively himself. He knows when a book isn't good, but he likes it because of personal preference, as well as when a book is good, but he doesn't like it personally. He says most people can't truly evaluate good writing. They merely comment on their personal tastes and interests. So he was saying, in effect, listen to me when I tell you your book's good, and you should keep writing, regardless of how the publishing world or the rest of the world responds. Don't listen to the fart heads who don't know a good book from a hole in their heads. I, of course, had to agree with him that he knows a good book when he reads one. I've told Lonnie in the past that based on his natal astrological chart, he'd be good at developing new techniques for human body maintenance and improvement. He's not bad at spirit survival techniques either. And the best part is, he's honest. He's not just boosting my ego. He went on to discuss the difficulty nutshelling Molasses, noting that it touches philosophy, physics, physiology, psychology, ecology, and sociology. Yet it's an ology all its own, going beyond all these, making up an area of study with no teachers, students, or classrooms other than me, as yet. He came up with a term for my branch of research. Wandering and wondering. Linda-ology. We went on to discuss the paradox factor woven through Molasses, the paradox being quantum, new physics with old physics, as well as the different number bases of my Q factor. He said it hit him like a slap in the face when I moaned that the word Q, 7, the letter Q, 8, and the formula for Q, 6, didn't have the same numerological value as they should. He emphatically and ecstatically stated, they do. He's right. He'll like the later chapters when I get back to this switching bases problem. He came up with a good suggestion for a new query, too. He thought I might write to the actor who plays Q on Star Trek. Yes, I'm going to do that. And he made this suggestion before reading the last chapters, in which I relate my Q value to some of the ideas of Star Trek's Q continuum. June 21st, 1994. Mr. John Delancey, Q. In care of Star Trek Next Generation, Paramount Pictures, 5555 Melrose Avenue, Los Angeles, California, 90038. Dear Mr. Delancey, where to begin? This may be the hardest, most important letter I'll ever write, and I usually write several hundred per month. I did send this letter. You'll have to read the rest of it in Sliding Down Moonbeams. I have to have carrots for you to want to read that book, too, don't I? Well, Lonnie, we'll keep our fingers crossed. I hope Delancey at least gets this letter to read, and reads it. By the time he gets this and responds, if he does, I'll be well into the writing of Sliding. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to cut off the reporting of my query efforts somewhere. So if I hear from Q, I'm going to record that event in Sliding. I hate to admit it, but I think the letters I have out now have died. But I'm still living. You remember Sonya Johnson, the news editor of the Canon City Daily Record newspaper? I decided it was time to write to her. June 22nd, 1994. Miss Sonya Johnson, news editor, Canon City Daily Record, 523 Main Street, Canon City, Colorado, 81212. Dear Miss Johnson, as per your article on the front page of the Daily Record back in 1998, Linda Shelnutt of Rockville continues to rise each morning to a pot of coffee and her computer. Thanks again for the boost in my career with that article. I thought you'd be interested to know that I've recently finished a nonfiction manuscript in which the first few paragraphs of your above-mentioned article are quoted, and in which you are thanked and praised for the writing of it. I'd like you to read that work, Molasses Moon, for you to read the accolades and to get your responses to the manuscript. Molasses Moon, slanted to a mass-market audience, is an unusually styled, light, actually somewhat silly, satire, blending easy philosophy, quantum physics comedy, a side of the right-left brain use in creativity, and a cultural critique with the journal of a writer attempting to break into the major markets of best-selling fiction. More than the story of a story, it is a how-to recharge in a vacuum. If you'd like to take the time to read the manuscript and offer comments, I'll be including samples of written comments from readers in the epilogue of the work. As a news editor and fellow writer, your input would be especially appreciated. I might also be able to use it in future efforts to sell the manuscript to an agent or publisher. Molasses flows rapidly enough to allow a complete reading in about 5 hours. If a week or two would be enough time for you to have a copy in order to read it, and you want the opportunity, please let me know. In any case, thanks again for the well-written, uplifting article you wrote when The Rose in the Pyramid was released. Oh yes, I wanted to also mention that I like the easy, personal, light style you use in Inside Out. It's a great column title, too. Sincerely. As you'll note from this letter to Sonya, I've begun giving a time limit for a person to have a copy of the Molasses manuscript to read. Time is moving right along, and I'd like to be able to go along with it. En route to the Canon City post office, I decided to deliver Sonya's letter in person. I did. And I waited while she read it. She had just returned from the bathroom. That must have worked in my favor. She said, "I'd love to read it." I didn't fall on my face right then from shock. I did trip on the sidewalk, thanks to UC's undying humor and foresight, as I walked dazedly out of the Daily Record office toward my Ford pickup with Tara waiting, drooling in the bed. The sun's hot on a black dog this time of year. This epilogue will be well over 11 pages by the time I include comments of the readers of Molasses. Oh yes, I phoned Jeff Herman yesterday to order a copy of his book, Write the Perfect Book Proposal, 10 Proposals That Sold and Why. I asked to talk to him in person since I've never heard his voice except on a recording. He was very pleasant and friendly, remembering me by name. He said he still hasn't been able to get into my books, and that most agents are too lazy to attempt to market something too unusual. It takes work. He suggested I might try to find an agent who was hungry. I wasn't quick enough to ask if there was a directory of hungry agents. He said it was nice to hear my voice. I said yeah, it was a first. I said maybe I could find something in his perfect book proposal book that would help me sell my work. So I guess that's the end of that. And with that, at 2 o'clock on June 23rd, I'm heading over to Moonbeams. Asterisk. And there's still a little bit more of the prologue here. The next paragraph starts out, Happy July 4th. Lonnie finished the manuscript and had nothing but positive reviews about the conclusion. Now I'll pause there and then read more about that. And more about Lonnie's input. What's interesting? Lonnie's been working at the Canon City Daily Record now for a few years. Probably several times going by so fast. And I think it's really kind of neat that he's working there. From 2012, February 16th, Thursday. I hope you're having a good day or evening or whatever time it is. And we'll see you next time.